Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, Mr. Adiarobet. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how you can apply SofaScore on basketball over points. And also, let me say additionally, I'll be informing you guys about some details and factors that you need to focus on when predicting basketball over points. Now, we all know that basketball sometimes can be inconsistent when it comes to outcome. There are some games that you know that naturally the outcome of the game is supposed to be a certain point, and unfortunately, you are going to be seeing a ridiculous total point that will end the game. Now, there are some things that always cause these things because sometimes when you apply a data, you apply some steps, and at the end of the day, you spend a lot of times on a particular analysis, and you later find out that the game lost. There are some reasons behind that. For example, on SofaScore, many bettors and tipsters apply some stats and data that SofaScore provide. And now, yes, they provide data from at least last 10 games of the teams or of the match that they want to play. The last 10 games for both home and away and for their head to head. I think that is, if not all enough, but at least enough data to analyze the outcome of a game. Now let us make use of Argentina and Australia League as an example of the steps in using SofaScore as a basketball over points. Now I like to predict my basketball over points on Argentina leagues and Australia leagues. And note guys, no strategies will ever be 100% accurate. No strategy will ever be that. So make sure that you are engaged in responsible gambling and don't stick with amount that you cannot afford to lose, please. Now, one thing about SofaScore is that when you follow the data provided by it, okay, let's check. For example, these games they have played it. The game ended up as 84 and 87. Now, there are things that people don't always pay attention to. The head to head when it comes to using SofaScore as a platform, as our source of data. Now let us move on. So I'll be clicking on the game now to see their last previous games. Okay, so the first segment that you guys are seeing here is it is the team streaks. You know, their last previous games with like their performance in their previous games with other teams apart from each other. So this is the streaks. So these are the aspects that we are concerned about. Last 10 games, that is the average scored point. Now we have goal scored point for the home team in the last 10 games, and goal scored average goal scored average game point for the away team also. And we have 165 for the away team, 161 for the home team. Now one thing that I want you guys to do is that by adding these two together and dividing it by 2, surely you are going to be getting 163. Okay, let's say by adding these two together, 161 plus 165, adding it together divided by 2, you are getting 163. Now let us move on to their head to head streaks. So yeah, the combination of both home and away streaks, average points in the last 10 games for both home and away, the total points for that happens to be 161. And don't forget, checking their streaks like with other teams in the last 10 games, you can see that it was 163. Now we have 163 and 161. Okay, between these two, we just know that we have at least over 160. Now imagine you want to predict the game as over, probably maybe the bookmakers are providing market for maybe over 159, over 158 and over 157. Okay, let's say we want to go for over 157 depending on your choice, but I think from over 160 you can actually go for this particular game as predicted as over 160 points. Now let's imagine that you want to play safe and you want to go for over 157. Now this is the next thing that you need to look into, that many people don't always look at, because the moment they realize that, okay, so these so particular teams, they always score so points in the last 10 games, the average total, blah blah blah, and the next thing they go into is that when they see 160, they go in and predict the game as over 160. Actually, if they apply that particular method, the game will actually come out one. But I will now show you something about basketball, that they are not consistent when it comes to playing. Now this is the next stage that you need to look into. Their head to head. Actually, the average head to head that the SofaScore provided, because according to what we just checked now, SofaScore provided last 10 games. So unfortunately, this is where you know that there are some things that may not be accurate, but actually it is accurate. But you need to also give your apply manual evaluation and review. Now head to head, don't forget the average point for the last 10 games of their head to head happens to be 161 for both teams. So now in their head to head, they unfortunately they only played, I think, 4 times. Four times. 4 times. But now the thing that you just need to check is that out of these 4 times, how many times have they played the total market that you actually want to predict the game as? For example, we say that predicting this particular game as over 157, over 158, 159, and 160, we can go for it. But let us check. At least they must not have played less than over 150. None of their last previous games with each other must have ended up as over 150. Now let's check. So in this particular game, okay, this is the last game they played. Okay, they only played 3 times apart from this particular game that they just played. 3 times. So the one that I'm seeing here is 77 and 88. Okay, this one particularly is above 160. Another one here is 158. Okay, this one is kindly partially close to 160, but not below 150. We have another one here which is 89 and 72. This one particularly is also above 160. Okay, let's say we want to partially go for this particular game as maybe over 158, over 157. Okay, surely the game came out so well as 84 and 87. If you only apply checking the average point, you can escape this particular game, but I will show you the reason why you will never, or you will not always escape lost in basketball. Sometimes when you are not paying attention to details, or let me say when you are lucky, you may be winning consistently in basketball. That is luck, pure luck, because basketball cannot be always accurate and consistent. Now let us go on to the next chapter, whereby I'll be showing you guys the reason why the reason for the inconsistency in basketball. So we are done with this particular start, and we can see the reason why the game actually came out so well, but not only because of that. Now let us move on to the next game. So under the same league, which is Argentina LNB league, so you can see that in the same league where some teams are playing 84-87, some are playing 85-78, and unfortunately some are playing 65 and 69. Let's now imagine that you predict your game on these 3 matches, and most of the market that the bookmakers are providing was around maybe over 150, over 149. Unfortunately, this particular game will spoil your ticket. Now let's just check the reason why that can happen. So the game actually ended up as 65 and 69. Is a very ridiculous point, very small point. Let us check the reason in the match, whereby we'll be checking the last the last 10 games of these two teams. So checking the streaks, you can see that adding the last 10 games streaks goal points, or let me say points scored in the last 10 games with other teams. For the home we have 161, and for away we have 147. Don't forget, I told you guys that in this chapter, when adding these two figures together, you just have to divide it by 2. So let's try our calculator. So adding the two together, we are having 154. Okay, let us check the next. chapter, which is their head-to-head streak. Okay, the game point average in the last 10 games total actually accumulated to 155. And don't forget, in the last 10 games with other teams, we can see that the the average game total points ended up as 154, and here we are having 155. Okay, now let us assume that we want to predict this particular game, as maybe the bookmakers are providing the market for over 145, 146, 147. Now there is one particular part that you must not miss. Actually check this part by yourself, like manually. Check it manually. They must not have scored anything below that 140. Anything below in 140, just avoid the game. Now let's check. So this is the head to head, and I think they played enough games, even up to like 20 and more than that. Now let's check from the start. Let us check, maybe probably we can check maybe 5, and we realize that none of the last previous games ended up as point that is below 140. So in this particular game, the game ended up as 94 and 75. Wow. So here we are having 147. Okay, here we have 144. Here we have 78, 75. Here we have 106 and 111. I hope you guys can see the inconsistency in their results in the last previous games. Now we have another one here which actually ended up as 77 and 68. Now imagine 77 and 68. But the most ridiculous part of it that I'm currently seeing here is 50 and 77. Now imagine. So it can basketball is not always, they are not consistent when it comes to the total points. So you just have to pay attention to manual details, like pay attention to details manually and focus on it. So I want you guys to practice this and check if what we've projected to you guys is actually there's facts in it or not. So guys, thanks for watching, and if you are just joining us, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and make sure you like our video. If you have any strategies that you want us to look into, drop it in the comment section and we are going to discuss it here. And also we have some ice takers, ice takers that can afford amounts they are taking on games. Yes, and if you have, there is available 3 odds currently for ice takers. If you are interested in having it, no problem. It is based on terms, and there's nothing like all these payment before winning, nothing like that. You just get across to us through our YouTube membership by clicking on the join button, or get across to us through our social media handle or our Telegram group. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next video. Join our Telegram groups in the video description link and join us on our social media handles. Thanks. Bye.